All right. And I'm going to start recording the episode here in 3, 2. Welcome back to another episode of Getting Strange with Stevie Mo. I'm Stevie Mo, joined via the online, via probably Bell Network, whatever they got up in Canada.
Who knows?
Who even knows anymore? I got my buddy Bud Fisher. Bud, how you doing?
I'm
Bud?
doing great. How are you, Stevie?
Man, I'm living the dream, man. I get to talk to you. And this is going to be a change of pace because this is actually going to be a positive episode. It's been doomy and gloomy the past couple
That's
weeks.
What we're aiming for, anyways. We'll see.
Yeah, man. I was like, because I do waking up today. I was doing this podcast. I got to leave work. I overslept my alarms, and I'm leaving work, and there's a nasty storm cell moving in. It's like yellow outside at like 5:30 in the morning. I go, this ain't gonna be a good day. But
funny you say that. Funny you say that because I had my alarm set this morning, and I woke up and I didn't know what time it was. And you tap your phone. I tapped my phone and it was black, and like it wasn't like plugged in properly, so my phone was dead. So I had to go out and like look at the microwave to see what time it was. It was like a few minutes before, like it was like 15 minutes before my alarm was supposed to go off. But I was like, I kind of got lucky because I could have been real late. But anyways, made it in.
Lately I've been having this so I don't know what it is. Maybe I got sleep apnea, but I cannot wake up, especially when my alarms go off. And I do this thing where I have my regular clock alarm and my phone alarm, and one will be going off and I'll be trying to hit the other one.
Mm-hmm.
In my phone case, it's like the worst. It feels the same on the front and back. So like I'll just be tapping it and it's black. And I was like, oh, I know where this is going. But then I'll just keep holding buttons. And what I'll accidentally do is like I'll hold a button long enough that it jumps my alarm clock forward an hour.
Oh,
so I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'll look and it's like an hour. I'm like, oh no, I gotta get up and go. I'm thinking I'm an hour late, but I'm actually right on time.
There's an app. I don't know if it's called the Sleep app. I don't know what it is. I used it for a bit and now I don't because I have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 6-month-old. And so like alarms are useless. Like, they're up before or whatever. They're jumping in bed or whatever they're doing. But there's an app that you might look up. It's called the Sleep app, I think. Anyway, look up what sleep apps they have. And if you put your phone in your bed with you, like beside your pillow or whatever, it tracks your sleep cycles. And so you go from I don't know, not very deep sleep into like the deeper sleep and then the REM sleep. And then you come out of that cycle and you stir a bit, whatever. And so what it does is you set a time frame when you want to wake up, like between 8 and 8:45 or between 7 and 7:30, whatever. And then it waits until you enter into that lighter sleep cycle. And so it's a better way to wake up. So you're not getting jarred out of like a super deep sleep or sleeping through your alarm. It's waiting until that part of the sleep cycle when it's more natural to wake up, and then it's easier to get up. So it's pretty smart, but I just wake up whenever the kids are screaming. So
yeah. or just if you guys want to save money from the app store, have 2 kids.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's so much cheaper.
Well, it's not running up your Apple bill, but yeah, your applesauce bill though, that thing's probably gonna be sky high.
Yeah, the applesauce bill's up there now.
All right, so this is probably only an American problem, but do you guys have baby food up in Canada?
Yeah, you know what? We're just having this conversation because our youngest is on formula right now, and are you talking about baby food like the blended apricots or formula?
See, I kept hearing it, and I was just like, oh, this is crazy, and I never looked into it. I couldn't tell you.
It was a formula. It was a formula shortage because there was.
I think it was formula. Yeah,
there was some like the biggest producer in the United States had E. coli or something. They had to shut down whatever it was. That was one of the things. But no, we haven't. My wife was saying this week that if you need like a hypoallergenic or like a specialty one, they're impossible to find. But we're lucky enough that there's no allergies or lactose free or anything like that. And so we haven't had any problems with it.
Oh, that's good. I've been trying to think of the name of this place, and the one time I ever went to Canada, I keep talking about this store. It's like a giant grocery store, and I cannot remember the name of it. Was
it out west? Was it in Sask? Were you in Saskatchewan?
No,
Where were you?
I was in Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was
There's
like
a
a
Great
like a
Canadian Super Center. I mean, you guys have Costco down there, don't you?
yeah, but it wasn't quite like I mean, it was a giant grocery store. It was like the size of like a Walmart, but it had a really generic name. And I want to say there was like yellow.
Oh yeah, yeah. No frills. No frills. It has to be. No frills. It's all like no name brand stuff and cheap. And like if you want a shopping cart, then you have to like put a quarter into the thing. Like at one point, like you could only pay cash. You couldn't even pay a credit card because there's a 3% fee.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah. Like debit card only. Yeah, no credit card. So that's no frills.
Ah, man, it might have been, but that you said the Canadian Super Center. I don't know.
It
It
might
like
be, yeah, it might be that too.
it said like yeah, and it was weird going in there because like and you've spent enough time down the states. The way that like grocery stores are set up down here, I mean, I can go find anything in any grocery store. Like it
Oh,
doesn't matter.
yeah.
There, that dude, I was like
No,
lost. I'm like, why is pasta next to cereal?
yeah. Great Canadian Super Center has ketchup chips, maple syrup,
Mm.
and that's it. Yeah. And Smarties. That's it. Distinctly Canadian, or you can't get it.
All right, ketchup chips, amazing.
Yeah, they're not my favorite, but they're good. They're good.
When you can't get them around here, they're amazing. It's like
it's
when
the
you have
best
it every
chips in
day.
the world, though. The best chips in the world are. I wish I had a bag here to show you, but they're all dressed. Ruffles, all
Yes.
dressed. Yeah, they're way better than ketchup chips. They are the number one in Canada for a reason. Maybe it's because I buy them all. I don't know, but they're the best. I found them actually at a Walmart in Kentucky, and I was pretty excited to find them when we were down hunting down there.
So, they brought them down here for a little bit.
Yeah,
and it was cool because at the time I was dating a lady from Canada. And the one time I went up there, I can't remember. I told the story recently, but I went in there and I was like, "Hey," because I wanted to get some beer. We were staying up at this cabin, and
so did you go to just a like a grocery store to get beer?
couldn't not at this time because this was
you made the rookie move and went into the grocery store and like, where's your beer aisle?
She knew I was like, let's get some beer. Let's go to the gas station. She's like, no. So I go in there and I want some Molson Canadian, right? I'm like, I want to drink Molson in Canada. Where do you think I start to look for Molson? This is how Americanized I am. I go over into the import section because that's where I always find it. I'm like looking around. I'm seeing Bud Light, Coors Light. I'm like,
they're starting to change that though. They're starting to change it where there's there's grocery stores now that at least in Ontario where you can get it, and like there's a gas station down the road from me that's like it's like a combo LCBO, like it's like licensed by Ontario, but it is like a gas station that sells it. So it's starting to change.
Yeah, and yeah, you've been down in Kentucky, like the how beautiful it is to be able to go grab two tall boys and just walk out the gas station. And two tall boys in a can of chew.
You can get Bud Light with like a Big Mac meal in the States, man. They're like bottle or draft.
Yeah, I think they wonder what they're like. People are like, we need to have socialized medicine. No, look at our habits. No, like if we clean up, maybe. If Americans as a whole get healthier, like if there are more.
Yeah, you can't have Diet Coke for breakfast and socialized medicine. You can't do it.
I definitely had a Diet Coke for breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
But I did have
that's a very American thing.
I did have a protein shake with some Alpha Brain and some goji berry and protein kale.
I've heard of Alpha Brain. That was like I think it came up on my Instagram that like Joe Rogan endorses it, right?
Yeah, he owns that company. It's on it. It's a nootropic. I've taken it for a little bit. It's cool. It kind of does help you focus a little bit more. Like you ever have those days where you're like on and you're just like cracking jokes and everyone's laughing. You kind of get that. But I do the Alpha Brain because I can't swallow pills. I cannot swallow a pill. So I got to do that Alpha Brain instant. So it lasts for maybe 5 or 6 hours, but you're not supposed to do it more than twice a day. So
they say like with quick recall. So like thinking of names and words and things like that, it helps to improve that. If you're ever sitting there going, that thing I can't remember, it's on the tip of my tongue. They say that is one of the things that it helps with the most.
I kind of sort of what I recall it doing like the best is this is when I first noticed like that I liked it, and I started taking it a couple years ago. I've been off and on with it because it's quite expensive. When I was a delivery driver for an HVAC company, we would have to have on all the units, condensing units, it would say like, how big the unit is. And there were certain numbers that you had to look for. It'd be like 5 or 6 numbers in like a serial number, or like a VIN, a VIN will tell you the year and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a certain number about the tons of how big the condensing was, half ton, 1.5, 2.5. And I would always be like, oh man, did I grab the wrong one? There's a couple times that I've taken the wrong unit, but I started noticing they're like, somebody called me once ago, hey, what is that unit? And I just remembered, I was like, that 18K. And I just remembered enough of the numbers. I was like, oh, it is definitely like a 2-ton unit. I was like, whoa, that's wild.
So you're like sold. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was sold.
I was like, I wonder if that stuff really works or not. Yeah.
And it's good. I mean, it gets you, it like a lot of people say they use it for like a pre-workout because it kind of wakes you up like coffee.
Oh, does it?
It does. Yeah. For me, it's, if I can get going in the morning, it's very nice to have enough time to where that can kick in. I usually give about 45 minutes and then start your day off on the right foot. But
this segment brought to you by Alpha Brain, alphabrain.com. Type in Stevie Mo for 15% off.
Stevie Mo hasn't been fired from his job yet, so you should buy it. No, I definitely like that. I've been on a little bit of a health kick, not drinking. I'm drinking the NA beers now. And I was, it's funny. I went back and did an episode of Working Class. I
saw
Bow
that.
Hunter. And
yeah,
they've been kind of, we went our separate ways about 2 years ago, and I wanted to venture off and do this. And, it took about 2 years to where we're finally like, we'd always been kind of cool, but I went through a lot of stuff. Not that I'm still not going through it, but we got back together and just had a good old time, and sat there and slammed like 6 NA beers. And I was drinking these, and they're to me, they're quite good. And I didn't realize like the day before, one of my favorite pro wrestlers working now, he entered rehab just because life on the road was awful. He didn't do anything bad, but he ended up doing that. And his ritual after a match was have some beers. And he said he started drinking these Athletic Brewing Company beers. I was like, I just discovered those too. Really? So and they carry them at some bars here. So if you go out with some friends and you're not drinking, you can have a couple of these, and they taste like beer. And it's cool. Like you're having beer and drive home fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't love beer because it kind of bloats me, and I don't know what it is. Beer doesn't really agree with me. I can have one, sitting on the dock or something like that, but I don't like how it makes me feel. So, and I don't know if that's, the type of alcohol, or if that's some other wheat ingredient or something like that, the hops, I don't know what it is, but I just kind of avoid beer because it just doesn't sit right. Like it's just, I enjoy it occasionally, but I don't drink it very often.
Yeah. I've been cutting way back on how much I drink, and it does, it bloats you, but you get so used to it that, you take an extended time off. Yeah. You drink it, all of a sudden, man, you feel like a Macy's Day Parade balloon.
Yeah, that describes it well.
Yeah, I'm like looking at myself. I shouldn't wear a white T-shirt, drinking beer. I'm gonna look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
At the end of Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
just wreaking havoc on the city.
just belching and just being like loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
But man, I knew I wanted to go somewhere with that. There's something else I want to bring up about Canada was a grocery store, but that train sailed a long time ago.
That ship
But
is way down the tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. I oh no. speaking of beer stories, I was gonna tell you this right before we went on air, but I was out, I had to get a little 10-mile bike ride in, and I'm like before I got back home, I was like, I remember I needed to stop by my grandma's house and make sure that her garbage can got pulled in. And apparently that storm that we had today, my grandmother called my mom frantically, and she's like, my wicker chair blew all the way down the street and someone needs to come get it. So I knew I had to stop there and get it. And this is just how my grandmother is. She's like 93. I roll up to the house, and where do you think the wicker chair is?
Sitting on the porch.
It is really close. It is. And again, she's nice. She's like 90. She might be like 94, dude. This lady's old as dirt. And it's like, you can see the door. It's right off to the left. And I just go, oh God. I'm like, all right. I dragged that back up onto the porch, and I'm like, I'm knocking on the door because I know it's almost, my grandma goes to bed at like 5 p.m. She's one of those. I'm like knocking, I don't hear anything. Like the TV's on, and I'm like, oh, this is getting a little weird. And I'm like, I do the whole, put my face, because I get the reflection there. And the first thing I see is where my grandma sits, and there's just a Bud Light can. And I go, oh. And I'll send you the video, and I'll send it to you after this, but I'm just like, oh, okay, that probably explains that.
Grandma's you're going to say she was half mile down the road looking for a wicker chair.
Man,
I have an aunt, my mom's older sister. She's 85, I think. And there was complications at birth. And so she's challenged. She lived on her own, was fully independent for years and years and years. And, 5 years ago, she moved into a home so that they could take care of her a little bit better. But she had chickens and dogs and cats and everything for years. And she's about 4.5 feet tall, and she's as wide as she is tall. And up until she was like 70, 75, she was like throwing hay bales, throwing square bales onto the trailer. And she's awesome. But the one story I just pictured when you were doing your grandma voice, I was picturing my Aunt Annabelle. I have a cousin, Gub. His name's Eric, but we call him Gub. And he stopped by she lived on a farm, and he stopped by to do something with the tractor. And there was a lean-to with the tractor and a few things in there. And he went in, there's 3 big wasp nests. And those wasp nests were in there. They started kind of swarming them a bit, and he took off, and he stopped in, knocked on the door and said, Annabelle, whatever you do, don't go down to the lean-to. There's wasps down there. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'm going to smoke them out or get like one of those beekeeper suits. I'm going to take care of it, but I can't do it till tomorrow. So just don't go down there. I'll see you tomorrow morning. He goes down the next morning. Then there's 3 wasp nests on the ground, stomped, and like a broom in the middle of the ground. And he goes up to the house, and he knocks on the door, and he comes in, and he goes, Annabelle, what are you doing? I told you not to go down there. And she can't run. Like she can hardly walk. Like she's got this. And he goes, I told you not to go down there. And she goes, oh, those buggers ever bite. So she, one at a time, knocked down 3 wasp nests, stomped them, and then walked away. Like she can hardly walk. And I was just thinking, she must have been stung, like honestly 100 times. Like it was insane. Anyways, that's Annabelle. That's it. She told me that she couldn't come to my wedding because nobody could feed the chickens. So
you got to excuse that one.
I know. It's like, well, good point. It's a good point. So she's awesome.
That's awesome. I need to use that.
Those buggers ever bite.
Man. It's like, hey, can you come over tonight. Hey, no one gonna be here to feed the chickens. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Another one of my favorite ones is she got bit by one of her cats. And like there's stories for days with Annabelle, of course. And she got bit by one of the cats and her hand was kind of swollen and didn't look good. So my cousin Roanna took her into the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, yeah, we'll give you some antibiotics for this, and then but we really have to bring the cat in, and we'll do a swab of the cat's mouth to make sure there's no, parasites or anything there. Make sure that the cat doesn't have rabies or anything like that." And Roanna said, "Okay, is that all right, Annabelle?" And Annabelle goes, and they're like,
"Oh." No.
Yeah. So she's like, Annabelle, we bring the cat in, and she goes, "Oh yeah, we'll bring the cat in." So she's like, "Okay, well," she drops her off. She said, "I'll pick you up at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We'll go back to the doctor." She said, "Okay." She pulls in at 8:45, and Annabelle's walking across the lawn with a shovel in one hand and the cat by the tail, stiff as a board, in the other. It's dragging across the ground like a 2x4.
This lady's a menace.
It's unbelievable.
Could you imagine if she would have had kids and the kids back talked?
Oh man.
Oh my God, she gets bit by a cat and beats it to death with a shovel. This lady's ruthless. Oh man, imagine the horse that neighed at her the wrong way. You guys need some homemade glue.
Unbelievable.
Oh man, that is what did they test it or?
Oh yeah. I don't know whatever. The point of the story is not whether or not she had rabies.
That is some hillbilly-esque.
Yeah.
Oh God, where's this? This is rural. So you did she grow up like? Are you guys? All your family around the same place up there? Or are you guys?
Well, yeah. So my mom's family. My mom comes from. There's 10 kids, so she's got 5 brothers and 4 sisters, and they grew up in Bancroft, which is about an hour and a half north of where we are now. We're in Peterborough. So my dad's family grew up in Peterborough, and about everybody in my dad's family is in Peterborough. My mom's family is mostly all in Bancroft, and so we're all fairly close there. But Peterborough's a city of 85,000. Bancroft's like 3,500, right? Where my mom grew up, and like half of that we're related to. So I always was envious here we weren't in the city, but we were close to the city. But like my cousins, like, drove themselves to their baseball practice when they're 12 years old, like it was like that kind of, country living. And I always envied that because they were fishing and 4-wheeling and stuff all the time. And I was, I played hockey and was going to hockey practice. That was all great. That was my passion. I loved it. But I'd go up there and like, we had a maple, a sugar shack, as all good Canadians do, up there in the bush. And I never wanted to come home. Like I just loved that type of life. So
it's I got like a small taste of what like kind of rural life is up there. So we went north of Winnipeg to this spot, and everybody was and we were there on the 4th of July. Everyone's like, "Gee, a Yank, what are you doing up here? And do you guys got a major holiday?"
Yeah.
I was like, I had a day off, but we would go and this one town we stopped in, it was the first time I ever got Timmy's.
Okay.
And you get north of Winnipeg and there's nothing around, and it's like beautiful because it's all like wheat fields. And I'm so used to seeing nothing but cornfields and soybean fields, and seeing like wheat and what's like the other like pretty flower up there? Canola.
Canola. Yeah.
Dude, seeing canola fields, I was like, yo, and the greatest thing, because there's the same kind of cell phone signal. Everyone, like, I never lost cell signal. We're like an hour from each town, and I'm like, my phone, I have Verizon, it switched to Bell, and I'm getting like fast download speeds. I'm like, this is awesome. We get to oh man, what is the name of this town? And funny enough, I looked it up. They have another factory that is local to this area, like Gerdau bought them out or whatever. But it's like a town of 25,000. I didn't get to go into the sports store, which I really wanted to go into, but it was weird, man. Like we roll in, and when I'm telling you, there's nothing for miles around. Like absolutely nothing. You get into this town, and there's like a shitty rundown Walmart, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And that's where the beer store was, which I found out what airline miles were. When the lady asked me, she's like, airline miles? I go, excuse me?
Yeah. You have,
but
airline miles. There's Aeroplan. That's one. But what's the other one? I don't know. I don't have it. I know what you mean. You get it everywhere. Everybody has it. I don't, but you don't have that there where like you go to buy something at a grocery store and they're like, do you have, what's it called? I can't remember. I need a nootropic, I think, because it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway,
we got like rewards, like for, if you go to like, we got like the Casey's gas stations, we got like the rewards there. But
that's not a whole network of using that card a million places. Okay. So that's only Canadian.
It is. Yeah. Cause it's not like, and when I was getting explained to me, I was like, it's like, cause you guys,
they're miles.
Yeah, you guys don't have like social security numbers up there, do you? Have like they run off that or something?
We have social insurance numbers. It's the same thing, but it's
yeah, that might be. But I was just like, yeah, I'm not really wanting the government to track my degenerative habits.
Yeah, but, there's that.
Yeah, and I wish it was a really cool experience, and seeing how like small town living is there. Dude, I'm like, we're rolling up, and I just see like all these lifted trucks, and I was just like, man, these hillbillies have no idea. Meanwhile, I'm from like Iowa, and then like I bet if guys from like Alabama came up and saw guys lifted trucks in Iowa, like, man, these guys have no idea. And it's just like, it's like that. What's the
it's a domino. It's just like
yeah, it's just of everyone trying to out redneck each other. It's the what's that Russian doll that just keeps popping up?
Russian nesting dolls.
Russian nesting dolls, yeah. And it just
one of the greatest movies of all time, Nacho Libre. And he's like, he has a good woman, lush gardens, a collection of Russian nesting dolls.
Those are actually really kind of cool. Just it's like it's such an old toy that you had to actually put in a lot of work to like mill it out and then mill around an edge, and it's like you don't think about
a proper name for it. It's not just Russian nesting dolls, but that's I
thought it was called like rumkin or something like that.
There might be. I don't know what the actual name is. I only know what the Nacho Libre reference name.
Good old Nacho Libre.
Great movie. You tell me you like that movie. If you don't like that movie, then we might have to cut it short.
I've seen it. Here it's gonna get really nerdy here. It's, to me, it portrays like lucha culture as like I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, we need to protect culture, but it doesn't do lucha's justice. Like when we talk about like pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
I love pro wrestling. I love it to death. I appreciate the lucha culture more than any of them because these guys take it so seriously. Like they're like legit buried in their lucha mask. That becomes their whole life, like hair versus hair matches. It's serious business. Like if you change a like your mask is like the rest of your life, your identity. Yeah. And I can appreciate when they take an art like that and just the way that they work. I love luchador wrestling. Now, I can only do so much of it because there's other styles that I like, but it's to me, I just, and now I feel like such a dork. I'm just like I'm yelling at people like, you don't talk bad about Star Wars. I saw this video, this kid getting like red hot. He's like, what did you say? It was like some kid in high school, like he was balling his fist up, ready to fight some kid over Star Wars. That has to be the best fist fights. Like I would I would enjoy watching like a Star Wars and a Star Trek fan fight each other.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, Nacho Libre was like one of those cult movies for me in college, where we
Oh
would,
yeah.
so at like in the summer. So I was a college athlete. I played hockey in university, and we'd come back and spend the summer at the cottage, which is a lake house or a cabin for all of you. Cottage is a cabin on the lake, and for all of you south of the border. But we would. So my brother was a professional athlete. He played hockey, and so we had a trainer that like spent the summer with us. He was like one of our friends that trained us, and so we'd wake up early in the morning, we'd work out, and we'd spend the day on the lake, because as a college student that was a college athlete and a professional athlete, we had nothing better to do. So
Yeah.
we worked really hard in the winter. We enjoyed the summer. So where was I going with this? Yeah, so that became one of the like movies of the summer. Like, I don't know how many times we watched it, but everything was quoted from Nacho Libre. And my brother would always say, "Chancho, I need the boss sweat," all that stuff. And so for his bachelor party, which is 2010, we got him like the Nacho Libre mask,
Oh really?
had to like put on, and when we were out in like Miami. But so that's how much we liked it. But anyway, I could see that if you are big into wrestling, or you like it bothered you that they didn't like that it wasn't portrayed properly. That's like I'm a bow hunter, and when I watch a movie with like an archer like Legolas or somebody in it, and they're just like
Yeah.
like this and like this, and like there's zero consistency, like it just ruins the movie because you can't get past how brutal that is. So I could see that.
Yeah. And it's it's not the worst thing. And somebody else was talking to me about that, and I'll go back and watch it again, and I'm sure there was a lot of respect paid that I just didn't see.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just kind of one of those. It's not to take away from anything that any of the actors did either, because everybody that produced that movie worked hard, and if you work hard at something, I'm definitely going to appreciate it. It's just who I am, even if I don't like agree with it. Like if it's someone that I know puts out some music, even if I don't care about it, like I know how hard they worked on it, like I'll still support it.
Yeah. Well, what's your, so we said this is going to be positive, not negative. So let's not harp on, one of my favorite movies. What's your favorite movie?
Oh boy, I go back and forth. I think my favorite movie of all time, depending on the day, is Goodfellas.
No, that sucks. No.
Terrible, just god awful. It portrays Italian Americans as
yeah. I'm Italian.
Oh, look at this! I'm gonna kill a guy for point shaving. Hey. No.
Okay, dude, Goodfellas. Okay.
Goodfellas is, to me. I remember I'd seen it probably when I was 18.
Okay.
And it was just one of those movies that everybody talked about, you might want to see, but they talked about The Godfather a little bit higher than as far as mob movies go.
Yeah.
The problem with me watching Goodfellas is when I watch it for the next 25 years, all I could do is quote that. And my buddy Brad is notorious about, like, we'll be at like house parties, and we'll like go out to my buddy Shane's house, and he's got like the like a big TV in his garage, and we'll just play like YouTube clips. And every time we see someone like sitting down, we'll just be like, "Yeah, you resting?" And it's just out of nowhere. Like if we're hanging out with a bunch of people, we're having like a good time, I'll just know he's gonna do it. Like we'll be in a group of people, and he'll be like, "You're a funny guy," and I immediately, and I can't stop myself from doing it. I cannot stop. Just funny how, like, and we'll do the whole thing. And
okay, so,
but that's how you did Nacho Libre too.
Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
becomes something more than what it is because it's like a social lubricant. It's a conduit. And then it's funny because of the social context of how it's funny more than the movie's even funny or good, right? But I don't think I've ever seen Goodfellas. It was one of those movies that recently I was like, you know what? Should I watch this? Should I watch another one? I ended up probably flipping through. I don't know if it was Netflix or Plex or what it was, but I was scrolling through so long that I was like, nah, I'm just going to go to bed because I've been looking at what movie to watch for now.
Yeah, you spent 2 hours trying to find a movie.
Yeah, yeah,
I've,
exactly.
I've
Yeah.
been
I
guilty of
watched
that
a lot
too.
of great previews though. A lot of great previews.
I've spent a lot of times putting together like a wish list on
Yeah.
Netflix, and
No.
I was just
You know what?
I
Like one bad review on Rotten Tomatoes and I'm out. So it's like, I don't have a lot of options,
uh I'm trying to think. I think T-Bone told me I need to watch. He told me there's 2 movies I need to watch, and I downloaded one of them, and I need to go back and watch it. But like, I will do this for you because
Okay.
we're friendly, we're positive, we're having a
You wouldn't call us
good at
friends.
it.
You didn't
Huh?
call us friends.
I'm only friends with people that I can shake their hand on a daily basis. So if
That's
I can't see you every day and shake your hand, you're not my friend. That's why my boss is my only friend.
okay.
No, I'm kidding. No, we're friends, but I'm saying, let's try to more so like we're trying to look outside the box. I will watch Nacho Libre. I will
You
get
have
I get I
to you have to watch it with your just for the comedy gold, not because it represents your passion well, but just for how funny it is. That's it.
that's I'm gonna go into it watching it as
Yeah,
a funny movie, you
funny.
know, because like I'm sure there wasn't a bunch of mechanics that watched Cars and was like absolutely not talking cars.
What? Lightning McQueen has headlights? When was the last time you saw a race car with headlights? Are you kidding me?
Dude,
Yeah.
zookeepers were boycotting
Yeah.
Madagascar. Oh, dude, could you
Yeah.
imagine? Could you imagine when B movie came out? How many beekeepers
Oh my goodness.
were
Yeah. This
swarming the
disrespects,
reviews?
yeah. Yeah. This disrespects the hard work that beekeepers do. Yeah. Probably my favorite part in that whole movie though, Nacho Libre, to go back there, is when he sings the song and he like leans against the door frame and he's like, I wrote this song in the desert. And he goes, he goes, I don't know the whole song, but he's like, it's to Encarnacion, who's the girl he's in love with. And he goes, to kiss your lips, I break your vows. No, 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 Jose. Unless you want to, then we break our vows together. Encarnacion. Oh, and then he goes, unless you want to. What's the other part? He goes, I ate some bugs. I ate some grass. I used my hand to wipe my tears. It's just so,
I love how I love how giddy you are about this. I'm gonna watch it. I'm definitely gonna watch it. Here's another question because now I'm curious. I want to start digging deeper into the mind of my friend. I'll call you that. Till you watch Goodfellas.
loosely defined friend. Yep.
What? All right. What movies? Because that movie defined your summer.
There was like it probably defined one summer, but then it was like one of those things that we always went back to.
And that's how
like you'll see one of those buddies, and you'll just be like, Encarnacion. It's just one of those things that it brings you back to like that great time in your life. Like the movie's not as good as I say it is. That's fine. It's just I have fond memories of that period in my life, and that movie was like became kind of this component of that, right? That we had so many good laughs and so many jokes, and it wasn't watching the movie, it was all of the times that we were spending later quoting that movie that's the reason I'm so fond of it. You know what I mean? Like it has nothing to do with how funny the movie is. It has everything to do with the memories that we shared, during that period of our lives. So
see, but then doesn't that make something great though?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Because
Yeah.
if it's gonna have that much of a lasting impact on someone, that's what I make that think makes thing something great. Like I
Yeah.
don't care what a bunch of fat critics who have seen every movie have to say about it. If it makes people continue to have memories, that's great to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Anchorman will be forever one of the greatest movies because the first, evening that I spent with my wife, like we weren't dating, we weren't anything. It was the first time that we actually sat down and had a conversation because I met her at a wedding and stuff like that. She came over. I had my buddy Shannon was with us, and we watched Anchorman, and he was an awesome wingman because he passed out. He's like narcolepsy, and so he passed out like in the previews. So then I could like.
All right, now that's a friend right there. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. So we stayed up until like 2 a.m, just like talking. I didn't know much about her other than that we had fun at that wedding with the group of people. And so that's when I got to know her, and I was like, this girl's awesome. And so like Anchorman is one of those movies that like defined what my life is now, right? It's not, I mean, Anchorman, the movie didn't define, but it was like one of those, moments that changed my life. That was the first, I remember like verbatim some of the stories that she told me, and we were laughing and having a good time sitting on the couch, getting to know each other. And like, that was when I was like, I didn't decide I was going to marry her, but I was like, this girl's like legit, So it's like that movie is like a cornerstone, not because the movie's so great, but because of the significance it has to me personally.
So we're pretty close to the same age. And I mean, that's one of the cutest stories I've ever heard in my life. And I remember being at some of these parties where like Step Brothers was coming out and Anchorman, and like all these guys and all these girls were watching movies together. And I never had a girl through any of that. So I always watch all those movies alone. And I watch a lot of movies alone now because I don't have a girl anymore either. that was some adult
all in
so
due
this was
time.
Kids. But it was like, yeah, man, I literally watched other people make memories. And I just have memories of them making memories. That's probably why I'm so bitter. Oh, I remember all you guys being happy.
We'll be right back after this break.
But just goes, bro, you're killing the vibe, man. No, I do. And I'm like, it was one of those things. I mean, like, guys are always like, oh man, wasn't that a great party? I'm like, yeah, for you guys, because I had to drive everybody home.
Yeah, well, that defined my college and university as well. I was the designated driver.
I always just showed up late because getting off work at like 10, 11.
Yeah.
But it's what it is. And you always gotta just look at the positives of there. There's I could have been held down and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Hey, I might have had like 5 or 6 kids. Like I've got white trash genes in me. I would have had at least 4 kids by now.
Yeah.
If I settled down, because like, dude, my family's Irish Catholic and they are fertile. Like my cousin just became a doctor and had 2 kids. I'm like, cool. You don't want to have any of that doctor money?
Yeah. What's his name? Jordan Peterson. Do you know that name?
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. So he's now a contributor of Daily Wire, which is like a conservative, publication.
Oh.
And he's a psychologist, and he was a professor at University of Toronto. So that's close to home. I'm only an hour and 15 minutes from Toronto. Anyway, so he's this conservative kind of commentator, psychologist, intellectual guy, and he has a couple books, and one of his books is called 12 Rules for Life, and one of the rules is don't compare yourself to anybody else. Compare yourself to yourself yesterday, or something like that. Paraphrased. Don't quote me. So compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who anybody else is today. That might be the way that he phrases it. But I thought that was really powerful because he goes in and he talks about when the world was small, like when there was no social media and all of that, there was like one mechanic in town, and he was the knowledgeable guy that everybody came to, and he took pride in that. There was the high school football player that never played in the NFL, but he was the best football player in town. And there was a girl that was, you know what I mean? Like there was something that you had that nobody else had, or you were the best at this one thing, right? And then now with social media, you could be the best in your town, and on a global scale, because you're comparing yourself to 8 billion people, you don't have what it takes, and so you can beat yourself down. So it's a really, really complex world to live in. And so what you need to do is you need to frame the world in terms of, am I progressing as who I am, not compared to who anybody else is. And that's kind of one of the only ways to be happy with who you are as a person. And so all that, very deep stuff to say, man, you can say that you're not married, you don't have a girl, but like your growth trajectory over like the last 5 years that I've, known you is like phenomenal, is awesome. Like we're like, you say friends,
now you're putting air quotes around it.
But I'm super proud of like, what you've done and how you've changed your life and continue to grow. So anyways, that's
what yeah. I appreciate that. And it's funny you're saying that. I'm literally wearing a CM Punk shirt and it says best in the world. Which, at this point, he really is. And that's one of those fascinating things, talking about before social media, where there's, before I like social media really blew up. So we'll say this is probably the past like 6, 7, 8 years. I started doing stand-up comedy about 11 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to say 11 years ago. And like my first,
the hardest thing on the planet to do. Like it's so hard to do.
You know what? Lately it's been so much fun because I've been open before on it. Like for about 9 straight years, I don't think I did any stand-up sets that I could really recall sober, maybe here and there. Like I'd always have a couple drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, lately just all the shit I've gone through where, something clicked. Obviously you go through what I go through and, like my drinking was getting out of control. I wasn't the best person. Like I was letting a lot of the good things in my life go. I had all these dreams, desires, and I was just like I would come home and just drink and not do anything. And I would try to do these podcasts and just get hammered. But I love podcasts, and I would go up and try and do stand up and get hammered where I wasn't working on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like the little thing that kind of went like kind of clicked in my head. I was looking forward to doing the stand-up set because I knew I was like, I'm gonna murder this set. Like I really want to do it. I was looking forward to it like all week because I was freshly single, not my choice. I was pumped all day. I was like, I'm gonna just get out there. Like this is what I got. Mm-hmm. This is like the only thing I really got right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like maybe 2 or 3 drinks before the show, and that fire and desire just went whoop, and it fell off. And I was like, that is odd. Yeah. I was like, that little bit of alcohol can just
yeah.
And by the time the show rolled around, I'd gotten sober enough. Yeah, I mean, like that kind of passed through. It was like 3-4 hours before the show. Mm-hmm. Went up there, stone cold sober, nervous. I hadn't been nervous, and dude, I've done stand up in front of like a couple hundred people. I hadn't been nervous, and there was maybe like 13, 15 people in the crowd.
Yeah,
I got up there nervous, and I did what I had to do, and it felt good.
Yeah,
I'm driving home, and this is like one of those things where it just hits you. I'm like driving home, and I go, why haven't I ever just done any of this like sober? Like what I'm like, what in the hell is holding it? And that's when I knew. I was like, you've got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to find out what it is. So yeah, and I'm not too big to admit that I went and saw somebody. Like I've had to see somebody about talking about it, because who else am I going to talk to about drinking?
Yeah.
My friends, they're not going to have any advice. Well, when you talk to licensed people who have been there, done that, then you start finding out, okay, that's why. This is why you do it. You need to handle business a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's certain things. I'm not saying like it's an end all be all, but like, if you feel like you got a problem, anyone that's listening out there, like see somebody. And if you can't find anybody, message me. I'll definitely help you find somebody. But all of a sudden you start realizing these things by yourself. And then here I am, like months later, I've had people come up and tell me like, dude, that was the best set I've ever seen you. Like you were on, you just, it's like a whole new person up there. And I go, yeah, because I'm sober, and I'm like, I'm really trying to work on things, and I'm not dependent on alcohol to carry me through things. Now I launched that, cooking series with Jonathan Barbecue, and I'm working on building my own seasoning company with my buddy Steve.
Yeah.
All because it just clicked to me one day that I was like, man, I can do so much more. And honestly, it probably looking back on it, and we've talked about in WCB, it was probably my drinking that was really causing me to just lose all fun and desire with them. So,
and then you point your finger at other things, maybe, hey?
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. But it's life's a strange thing, and kind of looking on the other side of it, you can't get mad. Like I like to laugh about things in the past, like, oh, I was watching other people make memories. But at the same time, like all those things were really kind of just building up my life to where it is now. And should things have gone better? Yeah. Can they? Yes. You got to stop looking at that. Like I'm always, oh, what if, or a shoulda. It's like, no, here's what I'm going to do. And that's been a real fun thing for me, is let's see where this can go. That's kind of how I'm living my life. That's why I'm like, I could have easily just rode just 5 miles and been like, oh, I gotta get on the horn with Bud and get back. But I was like, let me just pedal hard, finish these 10 miles, and then I forgot about my grandma's stuff. So, but and I was like, I would
find that wicker chair.
Yeah. I was like, I would think you would understand if I'm like, I just had to push myself 5 more miles because I had to, But I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it home in time and shower, and then I was like, oh, nope, maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to just kind of take that over and make you listen to all that. But
the stand-up thing, I've only done it a few times, and the first time I did it was a combo of, and I wanted to see how it went, and it was a combo of me for half of the set and Rut Daniels for half of the set, and like I did like a transition type deal, like I went out and then came back in as me, and it was like to see which one went better. And I kind of have a bit of a, when I'm me up there, I'm a little bit more reserved and laid back. And I had some kind of tongue-in-cheek dry stuff that people were like, I don't know how to take this, if they don't really know me. The stuff that might work, like with you hanging out with buddies for a long time, that I thought was funny, and it didn't really work. And then went in as Rut, and it's so high energy, so larger than life. People kind of sat up in their seats and engaged with it. And so I've had, sets, which these are at like, at shows, at like hunting, like hunting, what would you call them? Not like trade shows kind of thing, right? Where they're consumer shows. You go and it's, Deer Fest and stuff like that. So I've done, that 3 or 4 times there. And so I've had them where it's bombed and it's like the worst, like your stomach turns and like get me off this stage. Everybody's staring at me and they expect something of me that I can't deliver. I suck, right? And then and it's like the worst. That's like the hardest. That's like the hardest thing when you sit there and you bomb and you can't run away. You can't hide. There's eyes like searing you and like full of disappointment. And then I've had it where it's gone like better than I ever dreamt it could. And, I just, killed it. And then I remember thinking, and like I stopped playing hockey and I played at a high level, but I stopped playing hockey in 2009, right? But I won some championships as a kid and we had, we won some big games. We never won, a conference championship or a national championship at the NCAA level, but I had some success. And so what that was like, I was like, I feel like I just won a stinking big game. Like I was a goalie. Like I got a shutout in, the conference semifinal game in like the conference championships. And I did that in college. And so I was like, man, I just stinking shut the door, made 30 saves and got a shutout in, the semifinal game. That's how I feel right now. Like it was just this like high. And so anyways, it's one of those things that you just have to, I don't know, I guess, quote, be vulnerable, in a sense, and then just lay it out there. And if people like it, great. If they don't, then try it again another time. But
yeah, to me, it's like the one thing that I can do to get, because I'm never going to be an athlete. Like I'm never going to get the crowd like, oh, let's go. Like unless I'm like doing some sort of rally, which any more rallies are always radicalized. I'm like, no, I'll stick away from those. But, and I always wanted to be a musician. Like I played guitar, but that wasn't ever going to happen. I'm 5'7". I'm not going to be a pro wrestler. But the stand-up's that one thing that anybody can be good at. It takes a lot for people to be great at. And there's a lot of people that.
Okay, so let me interject. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but
no, go ahead.
Anybody can be good at. That's something that somebody says that has a skill set that is rare. That's not true. Like not anybody can be good at it. So, we have a tendency to overlook or take for granted our gifts. And like not anybody, that is absolutely wrong that anybody can be good at stand-up. No way. So it's rare for somebody to be good. It's extremely rare for somebody to be great. It's a combination of extremely rare and extremely hard work to be great. So don't think that, anybody, because we have a tendency to think anybody can do what I do. And that's not true because it takes such a combination of your personality, your desires, your all of these different things to do that. Like that's a unique gift to get up there on stage. And I'm not calling myself a stand-up comic because I'm not. I'm an entertainer, but not a stand-up comic. I have done it, but that doesn't make me a comic. So to say that anybody can be a comic, no way. No.
I say that because in my mind, I could just be another guy. There could be another Stevie Mo just lurking and ready to take my place. And then all of a sudden, because you already see it, there's already a couple, and this guy around here, Ben Woodfield, I'm like, there's already another fat guy with long hair who's starting to tell some funny jokes. So now that puts me on my toes, and I had to bury him at a show on last Wednesday because there was this girl that was getting up, and Ben's the dude that like his laugh, and everybody was making fun of him like, oh, here's Ben's favorite comic. What was her name? Cass, something like that. And I get up, and the guy who's hosting is the comedy club manager, and Tim's a good dude. And first thing I got to do is like I got to roast this dude for what he said about me right before he brought me up. So I said something along the lines that he looked like a retired flag football coach or something like that. and then I go, I'd like to thank Ben for continuing that. Please let me out of the friend zone laugh. and the place is went bananas just laughing. And man, when you were talking about when you're on stage, you're more reserved.
Mm.
I've been telling people lately, like, when I was talking about my drinking and stuff, that's Stephen Moeller talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm out here being wild, that's Stevie Mo. When I get on stage, that's Stevie Mo. Like, I'll be doing my own thing as Stephen Moeller.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get on that stage, like, I'm just,
yeah, it's so different. Now, I have the benefit when I do that, or I make a video, I make some videos as me for the Catch and Deers brand, funny videos. We did I was a character, but we did the vegan hunter, but then I did the most famous hunting story ever told. And
love that.
These different videos that I've done kind of as me, but now more of my energy has gone into the Rut Daniels character. So I can throw on a wig and the glasses, and the, the Masio camo and everything. And then I can kind of become that. And it's a literal mask that you put on, more or less. It's a character that you put on. But so for those of you who don't know who I am or my family or my background or anything, my brother married Carrie Underwood. And so I've had the conversation with Carrie, and it's like, she's very reserved, very quiet, but then she goes on stage and she's like, yeah, but at home, I'm Carrie. I go on stage and I'm Carrie Underwood. It's the exact same thing that you say. And I think that just about any performer has that same perspective. It's like, I can hide, even if I don't put on, I relate to it because I put on a wig, I put on a fanny pack and the glasses and whatever. And I am somebody new. But even people that don't do that put on this persona to go out and perform as well. And it's the most interesting thing. Like, I'd love to dig in. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to some of that stuff. I'd like to dig into the psychology of that, where it's just nothing's different except you're in a different headspace. For you, it's Stevie Mo. It's such a fascinating, it's such a fascinating thing to look at. It's like you can hide behind what? There's nothing there, but it's like for you, you're hiding behind a persona. Like and I think that, on a complex level, people do that every day, not when it comes to performing too, right?
Yeah.
Like people that are maybe not content with who they are. So they built up a persona, the bully or whatever. But it's really a fascinating, psychological, avenue to look into.
Pro wrestlers are the same way. That's how a lot of guys get there.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's how he got his. But then you like look at like the Undertaker and what they call it when you don't break characters, don't break kayfabe. Yeah. And the Undertaker for years never did interviews out of character.
Right.
And he would talk about it. He just recently started when he finally decided he was like done. The last couple of years which is funny enough, when I got a message from T-Bone, it's like him and Waddell. It's just Waddell and the Undertaker with like a dead turkey. I'm like, whoa, what? I'm like, wait, excuse me? And I remember I put the bug in his ear because he was doing this interview. He's like, yeah, I'd like to do some like hunting, hunting shows. And I messaged Bo and I'm like, dude, you guys got to get the Undertaker. And he's like, I don't got any call over that. But apparently he reached out like months later. But he said for years he would, even when he was going out with the boys, he would always just wear black because that was him. And he was so dedicated to keeping the Undertaker as long as it can go. And, now he's just living his best
way. Like, that might seem weird to some people that don't relate to that, that type of work. But, we're doing the Catch and Deers retail tour featuring Rut Daniels right now. And I'm having these conversations for hours on end. We're doing these meet and greets, and people will be like, and they're meeting Rut Daniels, the character. And, people are asking, so where are you from? I'm like, Pennsylvania. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, why? Like, you have any kids? No. Like, and then they're like digging, like it's like some people, I don't know. Like in my head, I'm like, who are you asking this question to? Right?
Did you ever see Reservoir Dogs?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Is that the one that has Justin Timberlake in it?
No,
What
this
is
is
that?
uh he was in an action movie. What was it? Speaking of T-Bone would know. He's a huge fan of
Yeah.
Timberlake's.
Yes, yes.
Google that.
Justin Timberlake movie.
No, Reservoir Dogs is a classic.
Friends with Benefits, Trolls. No, there was one. Okay, Bad Teacher. IMDb. I am confused. I swear it was Justin Timberlake in Reservoir Dogs. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, he would have been like 3 years old. What do they? No, Justin Timberlake's older than that. And Justin Timberlake like 40 something.
He's probably around 40, 1981. So he's almost 40. Yeah. Or he is 40.
Hey, he would have been. He might have been 10 years old when this came out. Yeah, So
Okay.
Reservoir Dogs was a Tarantino flick.
Okay.
And no, when it came out, 96. I think it was Steve Buscemi's first movie. But it's awesome, and they kind of do the backstory of how like one of the guys like infiltrated. He was an undercover cop, and just like the things he was going through, like how he was going through the stories.
92 it came out. Yeah.
Yeah, like how he was going through like the stories of like how he like if like anybody busts him, like oh, what's your backstory? Like I just thought like that's how you got to do it. Like that's how Rudd's got to do like the backstory where he's just like reading up and living it. Like you got to go spend some time in Pennsylvania just to be like, oh, from Allenstown on the rough side. And just go hang out there.
I just say, where are you from? From the part of near Scranton or near Harrisburg. What part of town where we got in fights to stay out of trouble?
See, but I love that the Rutt character to me. I remember when it first came out, and I was like, "What is this?" And I wasn't like, for me, I didn't like invest anything more into it than I was just like, "Oh, cool, this is what they're doing now." I'm like, all right, and it never stopped. And I was like, this is awesome to see because it never went bye. And I'm like, I'm so glad to see that. And in the wrestling world, it's the gimmick, it's your gimmick, and it's stuck around. And the fact that it's still as popular, like it's more popular today than it was back then. It's like it works. People relate to it.
Yeah,
it's entertaining. It really is.
I'm glad that you said that, because that's something that we focus on with the Rutt character, is that it can be funny, and if it doesn't relate to people's hunting experiences, then it won't go anywhere. So I think entertaining plus relevant is what we aim for, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been awesome, and we've been blessed with it. Yeah, I don't know if we ever thought it would be what it is, but there's been a heck of a lot of video views and support for it, and we're doing the retail tour now, and there's hundreds of people showing up to shake hands and get a picture, and that's very, very humbling to have that kind of experience.
So the whole catching deers thing, from how we saw it, this was 2016, 2017.
We started it on November 1st of 2016.
Okay. We would have been podcasting for about a year at that time.
Yeah.
And that very first video, like, it really set the tone. And I'm actually wearing I wore them special, the Catching Deers pants, the original daddies. And I still got I was still pretty warm from that ride. It was muggy today. Otherwise I would have been wearing the full jumpsuit. But everyone's like, yo, you need to see this. It's right up your alley. And I remember us watching it. And my, my first thought was, oh God, I hope they don't start a podcast. We're not going to last long competing with them. Cause I was like, to me, that was where I thought WCB could have been in a couple of years. I was like there, and we knew like something was like different because you'd seen some of these things come and go. But that video, I was like, these guys, there's something about these guys. And, you know, of course, getting to know you guys over the years, it was like, all right. And then to remember how that started, then the Rut character, then one of the coolest moments that, you know, friend to friend I've seen is when you guys landed that deal with Tractor Supply. I was like, I'm really proud of you guys. Like that was awesome to know where it started. And I've talked about you quite a few times throughout this and just in conversations with people, and you being one of the nicest guys on the planet, how you stuck around with us and kept coming back. Like there was one night up in Deerfest, which is happening this weekend.
I think I have videos on my phone.
No, this is the night we tried to get no. This was the night we saw you guys out.
Rose?
There was.
Are you talking about Rose?
Jose? Rose.
Like the red and white wine mixed together that you were trying to get me to drink at the hotel.
Oh God, no.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, this was I think this is a different night.
No.
No, this was like the next day. I think I might have I think you guys were staying at different hotels because I think you guys were there 2 years in a row. The one time I came up to you and I was completely hungover. Like we did a lot of degenerative stuff that night. Like I'm pretty sure we were scratching scratch tickets at the bar with like quarters that we were like throwing in people's drinks. Just having like just debaucherous stuff. And I come and see you the next day and I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And I go, you're like, how was your night? I'm like, oh dude, I'm like, I've sinned. I've done disgusting, terrible things. How was your night? And you go, well, me and old Reedy boy, we went and got Nerf football and we were in the pool and we were like throwing it and like filming our catches, like doing like ESPN catches. And I just looked at you, I hugged you. I go, you were the I was like, dude, you were like the kindest, you're the most innocent person I've ever met in my life. I'm like, you guys are grown men out of the country, away from your wives, and you both are like good looking cats. I was like, man, and that's why I was not blessed with good looks. Because I'd be abusing them. And you guys are like, yeah, dude, and I hugged him like, I love you. And you were a better man than I.
We had so much fun.
Your face lit up when you were telling me that. I was like, all right, I got to see some of them. Dude, some of them were awesome.
I was going through my phone recently, and you gotta, for your listeners, that was 4 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
4 years ago. Like I just deleted those off my phone recently. Like 30 videos of like laying out and like missing footballs diving into like the shallow end of a pool.
You know what's funny? After that show, it's not really funny. I came home to find out my girlfriend was pregnant and left. There was a Canadian, but it wasn't my kid. I'm having bad luck around this time of year. Yeah, that was for sure 4 years ago. And that was fat Steve. Like Steve was a fat boy. Well, like I got fat again, but
I remember you taking your shirt off at the archery, at the like celebrity archery challenge. Remember that?
Yeah, that was like a year or two later, and T-Bone doing the pig squeal.
Yeah, exactly.
I shot Kristen McDaniel's bow because we're the same draw length. She is 5'1", and I have the same draw. And then like she's like 5'1", and then Josh is just this Dude, he's built like an ape, dude. He's like 6'6" with like 40-foot arms.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember that's when I spent some time with Cody Robbins. That's where I really got to know Cody, and I hunt with Cody like every year now. And he's a good friend. But I remember he grabbed, like, he was shooting with okay, he's with Bowtech now, but he was same company, but he was with I think at the time he was with Diamond, and he didn't bring a bow. He's like, I just flew in. I didn't know I was doing this. So he went to like the Diamond booth, and they like they didn't paper tune, they didn't do anything. They just threw a sight on, and he like went to another place to get some arrows, and grabbed a release, and he shot 2 shots and was like, okay, 8 inches low and left. All right. And he got up and he shot, and he didn't shoot lights out, but he shot like pretty well, like middle of the pack. But his attitude, I'm so competitive that like, I'm just like, I have to, I have to be, I know I'm not going to be the best, but I would like to be like up there. And he shot middle of the pack with a bow he'd never shot, that wasn't sighted in the least. It was like, okay, I got to aim, 9 inches high and right. And he just went up and he just shot, and he just went, all right, there you go, take the bow back. And like, I guess you have that type of confidence when you shoot like 15 mule deer over 200 inches and 10 bucks over 160, whitetails over 160 in a row. I guess you just get that kind of confidence where you're like
shooting against a bunch of fat Midwesterners is nothing.
I don't have enough confidence to just go up and just be like, meh. Somebody else's bow and beat half the pack. Yeah. Anyway,
it's to me like going back to like stand up. Whenever you tell someone you're a stand up comic, oh, tell us one of your jokes. Give me a stage and a microphone and 15 people. Like, I can't, like, you can't just tell a carpenter, build me something.
Right. Yeah. So I was at a show, the Toronto Sportsman Show. I'm not going to name names, but I was at a Toronto Sportsman Show, and there was this kind of like show reporter, like she was a social media person and like an influencer, and she went around and she was doing reporting at the show that was like on behalf of the show. And I'm sure she did a good job. And she came up and was like, this is Rhett Daniels, in the Catching Deers booth. And if you haven't seen his stuff, whatever, say something funny. I was like, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. Like, turn off the camera. Oh, I don't even know what I said, but I was like, this is the worst.
See, if I could do okay with a situation like that if I'm at a trade show, because like that's when you get into like show mode where you're used to like talking to people.
Yeah, you're schmoozing. Yeah.
If she would have came up straight to me and say something funny, back of my mind, I'd be like, don't do it. But my mouth would have said something about her. And I'd be like, that wig looks terrible.
Your career.
I would just go like, because you would just like, that's me.
It was so hard. Like, yeah. I can't remember what I said, but I remember just kind of reeling and going, I was not expecting this. But,
no. And you can't.
I had a worse experience too. So I did, it was disguised as, it was set up to be like pro tips with Rhett Daniels, like that kind of thing. And I got up and I basically did a stand-up bit. And I did a bit where it was a true story actually, but I went to the Iowa Deer Classic, and you were there at the Iowa Deer Classic.
Yes.
And I went to that Iowa Deer Classic, and they have their big buck competition. And there was a 201 inch in velvet, and it was a doe. It's a 201 inch doe, and it was insane. And then I saw the name tag, and it said Caitlyn Jenner, and I went, like that ain't no doe. and two girls got up in like the back row and looked at each other and like stormed out. Like they were furious. They were furious with me. And I was like, oh, I thought that joke was safe. this content.
Yeah.
It's just a joke.
It's getting like increasingly hard to get away with stuff like that. Like if you're joking, I'm like a very, very open person. Like that, it doesn't matter what you throw at me. Like I'm good. Like as long as you're a good person, I don't care. Like I got friends that are trans, allies. I struggle with pronouns. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like whenever I'm talking to somebody, like, oh, they were very happy. I go, who? I'm like, oh, they, them. So it's hard for me, but like because I'm friends and I like want to be, just nice to everybody. I try my best. I do, and sometimes like you can play with it and you can get away with jokes, but there's been certain times that I've been on stage and I've said stuff that I don't think is that bad, but people are like, yeah, oh man, if like, you always hear of, and I start calling Portlanders because I'm like, you look like you would thrive in Portland. When they start getting on, like, what gives you the right to say blah, 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 blah. That is inappropriate, and I'm just like, did you come to a comedy show in like college campuses? Like, no one wants to go there because
right,
these woke white kids all of a sudden, like, you can't even toe the line of, and you say a joke that offends the group. Like if I said a joke about something about trans people, and then they're like, you can't say that joke. Oh, really? And I'll text my friend Michelle. I'm like, and Michelle's trans. Hey, what'd you think about this joke? Michelle, like, that shit's hilarious.
Yeah.
If I'm out of line,
yeah,
I'll get told.
Yeah. So I watched a video today, and I was on social media, and it was this. Pardon me. This guy was dressed up in like traditional Mexican garb with like white guy with sombrero, fake mustache that's like scotch taped on, and a full robe. You know what I mean? That the whole deal. Very yeah. He was on a college campus and he was saying, what do you think of my attire and whatever, my costume? And all of the college students were saying, that's offensive. You can't wear that. That's cultural appropriation. You're not able to do that because you're Mexican. And so that's racist. And then he went to like a Mexican market and went in and was like, what do you think of they're like, I love it. It's the best. Does this offend you? No, it's great. I love it. Look at you. Like, and then everybody was just like, no, that's not offensive. Who cares? Like, I love it. And it's like the white kids in college are offended by a guy dressed up as a Mexican, but everyone in Mexico isn't.
Yeah. They're getting offended on behalf, and it's funny, like
it's like being offended is a virtue now, right? It's I can show my moral superiority and you have no empathy and I do if I'm offended by everything. And it's like, well, it's a cheap moral, virtue signal. But anyway, well, we said we're going to stay positive. So
we are. And the positive thing is, hey, you know what? I know something positive we can talk about because I just looked down at this. I got my little, I know you can't see it, everybody out there. I got my little Traeger Day 2022 pin.
Yeah.
I like my Traeger enough, but if I switch brands, don't hate me. It's one of the things that could happen.
A little something down the pipe here.
It could be. I'm liking what some random old Joe in Oklahoma is doing.
Okay.
But someone I really enjoy, I did get to see Rut Daniels cooking with Matt Pittman.
Yes. Yeah. Meat Church, Matty Pittman. Yep.
I love Matt Pittman a lot. Like I've watched when the pandemic hit, I would watch so many of his videos just trying to learn. And that's actually really how I learned how to start smoking meat.
Yeah.
Um,
As well as thousands of other people from that. Yeah.
It was one of the most random things. So one of my homies, he's on Instagram as Traeger Daddy. Well, Sergio. Him and Matt are real tight. So, you know, like I follow all the, you know, a lot of the Traeger people. And I remember just looking through his story one day, out of the blue, had no idea. And all of a sudden he's like, I'm here with Rut Daniels. I was like, what? What? How did this happen? I had no idea. It was like from like a day before. Immediately I was like messaging him like, oh, bro, what? How did this?
Yeah. So it was, so I know Jay Cutler a little bit because he's a Nashville guy. He's actually neighbors with my brother Mike, who lives in Nashville, and so I got to know him. And we talk mostly just talking hunting because he's a big hunter, and
Is he really?
Oh yeah, Jay Cutler, yeah, big time. So he's got a hunting property in Kentucky that is close to ours, and so we'll send trail cam pictures.
Oh yeah.
Like that, and if I can't kill a turkey, you know, he's like, come over here.
Yeah, have him. Hey, can you make sure our gate's closed?
Yeah. So anyways, he's a guy that Mike knows him better than I do, but I chat with him, and so he messaged me and said, hey, do you want to come and do a podcast? Eric Trump is a big fan of Rut, and he's coming along with Meat Church, and we're going to surprise Eric by having Rut come in kind of mid podcast and surprise him. And so I said, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. And so I didn't know Matt before then, but we hung out for the day. Basically, I don't know, we were there early afternoon into the late evening and grilled together and hung out and spent a lot of time. And now we keep in touch. He's an awesome guy, and I've really enjoyed getting to know him, and learned a thing or two about barbecue. In fact, I did a brisket. What day is it today? I did a brisket on Sunday. I started it late Saturday night and did it Sunday, and I did it with the standby.
Oh, here we go.
With the Holy Cow.
Yeah, I just ran out of that.
Earlier in the week, I did just a pork tenderloin on the barbecue with the Honey Hog barbecue. And so this stuff's legit. I've enjoyed it. I hadn't used it prior, and I ordered some after I spent some time with Matt, and I ordered it after I tried his brisket. I was like, heck yeah. And so I really enjoyed it. I'd been using Traeger rubs prior, and these are awesome. Like the brisket on Sunday was a big hit. So
now you hold tight. I got to show you something. I got to show you something. This one will blow your mind.
You okay?
Got it. I was going through two of them. All right, this I've got the D's Nuts pecan rub.
Oh yeah,
dude.
Okay,
I'm telling you, I've been throwing this on pork chops.
Yeah,
and it is. I did ribs with them one time, and I don't know why I haven't done it a second time, because I was always like trying to find out that new thing. I did them with these, and there is something about this pecan rub that is just killer.
I haven't tried
it's sweet enough, but it doesn't have that overwhelming sweetness. It gives it like that real nutty vibe, and I'm just like, I love it. And well, I was preaching someone else's, like, this is the makings of my rub that I created.
Nice.
With Stevie's Eats, and we were talking about it because we've got some stuff coming down the line that, we do want to do our own rubs and stuff. We got some video and things, and I was just like, man, I'm not gonna be one of those guys that, like, if there's not an awesome rub, like, I'm not gonna use anybody else's stuff. Like, yeah, I put my stuff out, but I'm like, if we're doing like a cooking video or something, I'm like, sometimes what we have just ain't gonna get it done. And you see that with Meat Church. He's like, hey, use this W sauce. And yeah,
We talked about relatability and authenticity earlier, and I think that's probably what works so well for Matt is he's just like a solid dude that's super relatable, and he doesn't pull any punches either. And that makes you, when people push too hard on something, it makes you kind of skeptical. And I don't know, maybe I just have this perspective because I like him, but I mean it's just like, yeah, use this, or if something else works, use that, So
yeah. So
yeah.
I gotta hear more about this brisket. Number one,
Yeah.
how much did you pay for the brisket?
I didn't. So so we spent the weekend up at the cottage, at my brother's cottage here close to home. It's only about an hour and a half away. We have a Traeger up there, and a traditional gas grill as well. And my parents kind of, whenever we spend the weekend at the cottage, they love the barbecue. So they just kind of bring ribs or whatever they kind of want. And then we get there and they're like, look what I brought. Like, here. And so they told me before, so I was able to bring what I needed, but they're like, hey, I picked up a brisket. And so it was, I don't think it was, they got it. They said that they found a really good deal on it. And I think they paid like $40. And it wasn't a huge brisket, but it was like a reasonable size. And then I was at the grocery store tonight because I'm doing a rut video tomorrow that I'm going to do like a shore lunch, like a shore lunch when I catch some fish and then I grill it up. And so I need to get some groceries, and they were like $100 at the grocery store. So I don't know where they found this thing, but it was good. I didn't love how it was trimmed. Like I wish they'd just leave everything on it and let me trim it, because I don't like how they do it. So it got a little bit weird where they tried to cut into the point to remove fat. And then when it cooked, it just like,
Oh,
yeah. So that wasn't good. But aside from that, like it was really enjoyable. It was one of those, they have a personality, right? Like it was one of those that took like 13 hours before I hit the stall. And then so it ended up being like 15 or 16 hours total, which was fine because I started the night before, and then I did like a 4-hour rest, I think, and then it served at 140. So I was happy with it. It ended up really good, and the flavor was awesome with this Holy Cow Meat Church. I wish I had brought a little bit of the honey hog because I would have mixed a little bit of that in too. But it was great. Yeah, it was great.
My first brisket I did, and I was saving up for it because I knew how expensive it was going to be. And I ended up getting one for like $65. I was like, oh, I put it on the night before at about 9:00 at night.
What temp?
And what I set it for or what it was running at?
Two different things.
I've got the Traeger tailgater.
Yeah.
That little thing is that, but I ended up replacing the fan because I dropped it. I ran that I tried to do it at 200 degrees because I was like, I'm going to let it go all night.
Yeah, that's a nice like overnight temp. Yeah.
I went and checked it at midnight.
Yeah.
It was already at 145 degrees. And I go, this ain't good.
Yeah.
I ended up putting that warm setting on where it was just going to keep it at 165. And that kind of stalled it out for a little bit.
Right.
And cooked it. I think I ended up pulling that thing at about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Wrapping it. No, you know what? I might have wrapped it way earlier than that because I think about like 7 a.m. it was done. I was like, oof. Yeah. Because I got real nervous. And this is when I was like, I was a little frustrated with it. There were some slices that were like really nice and tender, real good smoke ring. And then there were some that were cutting like steak. Yeah. And I was like,
so was it a full, like, was it a point and a flat?
It was a full brisket. Yeah. And I trimmed it.
It was probably juicy and the flat was overcooked, you think?
The flat was getting really hard to the point where a lot of that brisket ended up getting chopped up and turned into burn ends. Yeah. Which the burn ends turned out to be okay. But man, it was one of those the first time I did, and like the flat was like definitely because there's a significant hot spot on that particular model, and it's right up here in the front right corner. And that just, it's like that, dude, it's the corner of death. So if you've got something that, like, if you got like the fattest piece of meat, that's where that's gonna go. I did fat side up. I probably should have done fat side down. Just I've heard
I like fat side up personally, but if you have a hot spot on your grill, fat side down would probably protect it better, right?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm like, I'm still deciding if I'm going to do the next one. I'm like, not that I'm afraid to, but like I was, it was like that confidence thing. Yeah, I was feeling pretty confident. I'm like, dude, I was killing it on pork butts, but the one thing about meat is it's never going to ever be the same. So I did.
That's what I mean by they have a personality. Yeah, like you're never. Sometimes you'll cook one in 8 hours, and sometimes it'll be 13. So.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
The longer you rest it, the better it is. So that's what makes brisket forgiving. And the mistake I made the first time was I had a really tasty brisket and it was super dry, is because I treated it like a steak, like a total amateur, and I rested it for like 15 minutes.
No.
So like, because I was running late, it wouldn't cook. So then I rested for like 15 minutes and that was a nightmare. But anyways, you learn. You just do it as much as you can and you learn.
Well, here's something that's kind of dumb. I picked up a 9-pound pork butt for $23. It was when I was filming, it was like the same day. Yeah. Same day I was filming or recording the podcast for the backyard cookout cast, the backyard barbecue cast. Mm-hmm. And I remember like I was trying to make it to somewhere in time because I wanted people to try all this. It was like a Sunday evening, and it was getting close to like 9 o'clock. Like I put it on at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it ran to almost 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I remember I was like bumping up the temp, just trying to get it to creep up a little bit so it could hit that stall. Then I could wrap it, do the Texas crutch and then get it there. And it was incredible. It was like juicy. I was getting a little nervous. I was like, just tell me how the flavor is first but it turned out amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Next week, I got pretty cocky. Paid half the price. So for 2 of them, I paid like a 9-pound butt was now like $14. And I'm like, why is this almost half the price? You know what I mean? I did one no wrap because I wanted to do a test, and then I wrapped the other one. And I don't know what it was, but when I went to go pull the bone out, like the meat around it was just like hard. Like it was like pork chop tender, like pork chop, Yeah. And I was like, maybe that's just how the no wrap is. The other one, the one that wrapped, same thing. But I let the other one rest for almost 2 hours. And then the one that I did the no wrap, I basically pulled that right away. So like, I can't tell you why that particular area right around there, everything else was like almost at like 210. It was just weird, man. I maybe there's a reason they were that cheap. It's just, that was the first time I'd ever ran into that, but it happened to both of them.
Wild hog.
Yeah. Wild hog. I didn't watch Wild Hogs beforehand. Oh man, Wild Hogs. That's another movie. I actually don't want to get into that.
I've never seen that one.
R.I.P. Ray Liotta. Here it is. It's Ray Liotta, Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence, and
Ray Liotta. He's the one he's the guy that's in Goodfellas, right? And
he was in Goodfellas. Yes.
Passed away a couple months ago. Is that right?
I don't think it was I think it was like less than a month ago.
Was it that soon? Okay, yeah, that recently. Yeah.
And then the other guy that was in Goodfellas, just the mob boss, he actually just died about a week ago.
Who's that?
What else was he in? Vinny, because he died about a week after Paulie Walnuts from Sopranos died. He was in a couple things here and there. He was really recognizable from Goodfellas. Like if you were going to know him from anything, that was
movie. Yeah.
You definitely got to watch it. We got some homework.
Yeah.
I gotta watch Nacho Libre. You gotta watch.
Those ones that I almost watched just recently. I wish I had now because our conversation would be far more interesting.
You will definitely have to check it out. But yeah, I know you got a lot of work that you got to get done, and that's why you sent your family away to the cabin so you
Yeah,
can get work done.
yeah. In the summer, especially when we get around to launch, we're launching the Catch and Deers fall collection just this week, and so when we get around that time, my wife goes, "So, what's this? What's next week looking like?" I'm like, "It's gonna be early mornings and long days, you know." So she takes the takes the little ones and goes up see you know the her parents up at the lake, and they enjoy that time, and then I can focus on getting some work done. So, but it's we've got the Catch and Deers retail tour right now too, and so it's a tough time just being away from family because I have a little 6-month-old girl, and you go away for
Oh
10,
yeah.
come back and she's different, you know. And so, but it's also a rewarding time as well for our business and our brands, and so. But yeah, I'm really excited about this fall launch because I think it's our best collection that we've ever done, and we've got a great ducks collection that we're excited about. You're getting a little preview here for those of you watching, but I'm excited about what we're doing on the duck stuff, and that's a passion of mine. I absolutely like. I'm torn up over duck hunting. I love it. I fell in love with it several years back, and it's just I'm fixing up a duck boat right now with a beaver tail blind and a backwater mud motor, and did all the work to the boat, putting what are they called, pods on the back, and painting it. And so I'm having a lot of fun with that. But that's something that I love it because even a bad duck hunt's a great duck hunt, because you're sitting there with friends and all right, take the little guy out, and so it's something very, very social. And I'm so busy. I'm very passionate about deer hunting and all of those things. But when I get home from maybe 2 weeks of deer hunting, I can't come home, and I don't, not that I don't want to, because I love it enough that I probably would, but I can't, sit all day in a stand. But I could take Wesley out for a morning or go with my dad,
Yeah.
for duck hunting, and that's quality time spent together. And so I love it. So we're excited about the catch and duck stuff this fall, and we think it's going to work really well for our retail partners as well. And so lots of fun stuff, man.
That'd be really cool. So when does the tour officially kick off, and where are you going to be, like a couple cities, just in case someone's listening here and wants to come check you out?
So the best way to check is to go on catchanddeers.com. And if you go, we have some tabs at the top, and I don't know if it's under, I think it's under the hunt camp, but then it says retail tour. You can check all the stops. But we're going down the East Coast on August 13th. We start at Kittery Training Post in Maine, and then we go down through through Maryland and through North and South Carolina, and then we hit Smoky Mountain Knife Works in Tennessee, and then we finish off. And I'm skipping over some, but we finish off in at the Mossy Oak store in Mississippi. And then we had to unfortunately postpone a few stops that we have in Ohio, and they're being rescheduled to the 20th and 21st of September. And that's Vance and Fin Feather Fur in Ohio. And then we finished in Ontario on September 23rd at East Hill Outdoors. And so those are great retail partners of ours, and they're a chance for us to, because we do a lot on social media, like a lot of brands do now. It's really fun to engage, on a more personal level. So the meet and greets and the stories of hunt camps and, things like that. It's a lot of fun to do. And and to get to know and to kind of draw some awareness to some of our retail partners as a Catch and Deers brand is awesome. So it's been, the first leg was really great. So we're excited to continue that.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'll try and post a link to that. So if anybody out there on the East Coast can make a couple of shows, or, down South.
Yeah.
Even Ontario, I wonder if my buddy's up in Canada, Scott Clark, he's met you a couple times.
Oh yeah.
I remember one time, you sent me like that One Pug Life or whatever. And I Googled where those guys were, and Scott goes, yes. He's like, that's like 3 neighborhoods away from me. He goes, I drive past that place all the time. I'm like, oh man.
So you mentioned that night in Wisconsin, in West Bend, Wisconsin, right? That's where we were?
Yes.
So West Bend, Wisconsin. And I have a video on my phone still of after we were throwing the football around in that pool. My buddy and business partner, Ryan Hawkins, and Reed Fott, we were in the hot tub together, and they were doing the one. Was it One Pug Life? No, I'm sorry. This is a different guy. I'm thinking of not One Pug Life, but what's the guy's name? He goes, hey buddy, people are talking about you, saying that you're deadly. And so we were doing that. It's another YouTuber. And I was wrongly thinking that was One Pug Life. But One Pug Life is the confidence antler, bud. Oh, you stole her, Ray. You stole her. Yeah.
My favorite
washing machines and stuff on a go-kart with goalie gear on.
Just count the amount of cigarettes that they're always ripping. They're just huffing darts left and right. It's amazing. I remember like the first time you showed me that, I couldn't stop watching. I'm like, I need to see more.
No, they're just wild. They're wild. Viewer discretion is advised. They're wild.
It's a very, very much so. But if you if you're familiar with any kind of rural town in Iowa, like you would get it. Yeah. That is like small town.
It's not cultural appropriation, but it's culturally appropriate.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer in my my iPad's here is getting ready to die because I haven't figured out how to get a power cord that serves both as an audio jack and
you need some
power.
Sort of yeah.
I know they're $30 on Amazon that I could go buy one, or I could keep spending $30 on scratch tickets once a week. And
so you didn't win that $1.3 billion Powerball.
No, someone in Illinois did, like a single winner.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard much else from it, but I would promise you if it was me, this podcast would not be happening. I would fake my own death. Yeah. And I would probably go to the hills of Montana.
Yeah.
Find somewhere to get Wi-Fi, and I would just become like 5,000 pounds. Like I would be the 6,000 pound man. I would just get fat playing video games.
Buy the Dutton Ranch or anything?
The Dutton Ranch?
Yeah, from Yellowstone. Did you watch Yellowstone?
I don't.
Okay. That's the Yellowstone Ranch. I tried to get into it. I watched like the first season, and then I get frustrated when something doesn't make sense to me. It's like, this guy's got this $1 billion ranch, and his kids are gonna die, and people are trying to shoot them all the time, and like, really, over a chunk of land, your family's gonna die. I don't buy this, and then I'm out. So anyway, yeah. It's not that it's not a good show. I just couldn't get into it really. So anyway. But that just derailed your sign off. Steve, no, like you're gonna do a sign off, and then I'm like, not so fast.
No, not so fast. We're gonna talk about Yellowstone, and then we both just hated it. Yeah. Did you see Yellowstone? No, it sucked. Yeah, it sucked. Let's move on. No, I just wanted to say thanks for hopping on and doing this. I had a blast with this conversation. I'm glad it went the way that it did. I'm really excited for your new line. Catching Ducks is going to be awesome. Not like new line, but like new line of clothing.
Yeah, new collection. Yep.
A new collection. That's how you would call it. Yeah. You're in the fashion industry, bro.
We're doing Milan next year. Yeah.
There is a town near where I live, and it's spelled the same, but it's called Milan. Oh, and cool. I lived in Milan for years and years, and let me tell you, One Pug Life could come in there and they would not stand out.
That's years should come to Milan and do a fashion show launch and do like a runway, and then we can tell everybody we were in Milan and have like a redneck fashion show. You think that's ever been done? Hey, and there's no wrong answers. I'm just spitballing here.
I'm telling you, like legitimately, it might wait till springtime, but we could probably work that out. Probably get the boys involved, WCB boys.
Okay.
I
Hey, maybe we should wait until we launch the Catch and Deers underwear before we do that. Would you consider modeling?
I have a joke.
Oh,
And
no.
I have a joke that I say like because I I want you to still think we're friends, but I don't want you to know how filthy I get on stage. But I do a joke. One of the more tame things is where I say like I was mad that I got broken up with or that I got cheated on because finally first time in my life I'm comfortable being fat. I'm like I was enjoying looking like a Farm and Fleet underwear model.
Oh, there's no better sign off than that, buddy, right there.
That is. Yeah, maybe I'll send you a set. But yeah, I actually I've got a perfect venue for if you wanted to do that, and there's a lot of hope for something like that happening. So yeah, I've got ideas, but I am also very thankful that you took the time to do this. Really excited to see what goes on. Where else can people find you, or do you not want to be found? Just have them go to Catching Deers and leave you alone personally.
Yeah. No,
That's fine too.
catchanddeers.com is the site, or rutdaniels.com. We've got both brands, of course, and then at Catch and Deers on Instagram and at Rut Daniels and Google. There's this thing now that it's called Google, and you can just type anything in there, and then it searches the whole internet all at the same time. It's spectacular. You use that. That works really good. Actually, my buddy found a site. It's called Let Me Google That For You. If I'd ask him a question, you type it in, and when he'd send a link, and it says, "Let me Google that for you," and it actually asks the question in the Google bar and then shows you the results. It's beautiful. Anyway,
it's amazing.
Yeah. So no, just Facebook, Instagram, and our websites are catchanddeers.com and rutdaniels.com, and YouTube. We have a YouTube channel for Rut Daniels with all of our videos, including our full. We say full, they're short, 6 to 8 minutes hunting content, where they're our weekly videos for Rut Daniels are a minute long, and they're just kind of rapid paced kind of one-liners and stuff like that, and they're just kind of the weekly adventures of Rut. And then we have the episodes. Those episodes are more of an in-depth bear hunt or deer hunt or bow fishing and stuff like that. So our season 2 is going to be launching around the start of September, I believe. So so we're excited about that as well.
Wonderful. Well, I do appreciate you. I appreciate everyone listening. I'm going to give myself a round of applause for drinking a 6-pack of NAs. And I'm so good. I do. Man, I'll send a shout out to Athletic Brewing Company. I'm literally drinking a Run Wild IPA and not feeling bad. So, yeah.
Well, keep at her, Stevie. You're doing awesome. So thank you, and thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to catch up with you. And
yes, sir. It's a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. And the one cuss word that is going to be said on this episode, the actual cuss word, is hey guys, remember the Wu-Tang slang is mad fucking dangerous. Later. And how do I end recording? Oh, right there,
brother.
Yes, stop recording.